Let's dive into the definitive guide to digital onboarding. My name is Kaylee Carlson, and I'm one of the product marketing managers here at Jamf, and I'll also be your guide for today's webinar. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll discuss the importance of digital onboarding in today's environment, what a modern user-centric technology onboarding process looks like, and how to create a frictionless zero-touch strategy, including securing those devices. We'll touch on steps to prepare, purchase, and deploy devices within a zero-touch deployment process, and also how to provide simple access to company resources for your remote workers. As you can see, we have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. But before we dive into onboarding, for those of you new to Jamf, here's a quick summary of what we do. Jamf helps organizations succeed with Apple, and that's why you're here, to help your organization succeed. Let's briefly review the solutions that Jamf offers. Jamf offers a portfolio of enterprise-grade solutions ready to help you tackle authentication and identity management, device management, and endpoint protection challenges in the Apple ecosystem. And underpinning it all is Jamf Nation, the world's largest community of Apple administrators with more than 100,000 of your fellow admins on the site ready to connect with and to learn from. For more information about any of these solutions, check out jamf.com. Jamf helps more than 36,000 organizations manage 16 million plus Apple devices and counting. When the enterprise needs the world leader in Apple management, they turn to Jamf. The world's largest banks, tech companies, most valuable brands, and largest companies choose Jamf for Apple management, so rest assured, you will be getting all of the value that Jamf has to offer for your organization as well. So with that, let's talk about digital onboarding, something every single one of you is probably working on or thinking about right now, and why it's so important. I think we all recognize that the days of a 9-to-5 workday, exclusively from an office, are coming to an end, as work is no longer confined by a place and by time. In fact, in a 2019 study published by Talent LMS, 66% of organizations allowed employees to work remote, and 16% of all employees worked remote full-time. And in today's world, in the face of the pandemic and its after effects, these numbers will only continue to grow as more organizations than ever before are examining their remote and work from home policies, be it for health, employee retention, or employee productivity reasons. What's making this possible is the evolving role of digital technology to improve business processes, to enhance employee experiences, and to stay connected. So what makes digital onboarding successful? Success comes from the evolving responsibility of IT and having a solid digital onboarding plan in place. Let's face it, today's IT admins have to deal with more than ever before, like keeping devices and hardware secure, more incoming digital help tickets, giving employees access to the right tools, and overall, just more general day-to-day help as employees navigate their new working environment. And if you add the task of deploying new hardware while delivering a positive new employee experience that gets them up and running from day one, it becomes paramount that organizations offer the right technology and leverage the right tools to facilitate a streamlined onboarding process. This is why onboarding is so critical to think about. The speed and efficiency with which organizations empower employees is directly correlated to the retention rate and level of productivity of new hires. According to research from Glassdoor, when organizations can deliver a strong onboarding experience, they can improve employee retention rates by 82% and employee productivity by over 70%. All of this boils down to the fact that there's a lot at stake for getting employees off on the right foot from their first day on the job, now more than ever, as we cannot see or physically help those new hires in person. The recent health crisis is only one reason why organizations need to put workflows in place to keep employees safe and productive, no matter where they are. Another reason to think about and implement a digital onboarding strategy for Apple devices is because Apple hardware is becoming much more commonplace in organizations around the world. The ease of use and growing employee demand are opening the eyes of many organizations to support and offer Mac, iPad, and iPhone, and remote onboarding plays a large part in the adoption of Apple. Before we dive into a digital onboarding strategy, let's remind ourselves what a traditional onboarding process looks like. So you have a new hire or new hires, and they get their hardware on their first day. Typically, those new hires will sit down face-to-face with IT and or their manager one-on-one or in a formal onboarding group session led by an IT admin. During this time, IT admins will help new employees get set up with their local Mac account, connect to the corporate network, get their email set up, and walk them through how to access important apps and resources that they will need to be productive. Maybe this also includes gaining access to those apps and resources through a cloud identity, so ensuring the user has their credentials will be important as well. All of this is done real time in the office with an IT admin to make the process quick and seamless so the new hires have their hardware and can get started in their new roles right away. That process happens in the office, but now let's look at what the traditional steps might look like to procure and deploy new hardware for remote employees today. The IT admin will need to order a device or devices from a vendor, and the devices get shipped to IT at their organization. Once the devices arrive, IT will need to spend time provisioning the device to give the employee what they need for their particular role and also potentially preloading complex images. Once the device is ready, it's shipped off to the new employee. Wedging IT in the middle to prepare the device means that the new hire is waiting and they're anxious to get started in their new role, but they're not yet able to be productive, which is frustrating for both them and for IT. So how can we mirror that in-office onboarding experience that gets an employee up and running immediately to remote workers to remove that wait time and alleviate that frustration? The answer is by instituting a zero-touch deployment strategy. Zero-touch is by far the easiest and most efficient way to deploy devices with an MDM solution, an Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager, to automatically enroll and configure new devices without requiring hands-on support from IT. With zero-touch, admins can simply order devices from a compatible vendor and have them shipped directly to the user without time-consuming imaging or manual configuration. So what role does the MDM play in this strategy? Well, we'll dive into more details shortly, but an MDM solution like Jamf Pro, Jamf Now, or Jamf School empowers IT to deliver the experience of an on-site onboarding to a user's home office. With an MDM solution, IT can provision the perfect Mac, iPad, or iPhone with the right software, apps, and settings, and deploy each device seamlessly with no wait time or interruptions, so users can go from new in the box to hard at work automatically. I'm sure you're thinking, this sounds great, but exactly how does zero touch work, and how can I achieve digital onboarding success with this strategy? Some of you may already have this down in your organization, but for those of you that don't, or even if you've started the process and want to ensure you have all of your bases covered, let's walk through the steps of modern user-centric onboarding with zero-touch deployment. It all starts with an MDM solution plus Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager. With this powerful combination, IT admins can automate device enrollment over the air from one central location, completely eliminating the need for IT to ever physically touch a device, so that when that new shrink-wrapped device is shipped to the user, they enjoy the exact same experience they would if they had purchased a new Apple device on their own. So let's dig into the Apple deployment programs a bit further. Apple Business Manager, or ABM, is a free service from Apple and provides IT admins with the ability to enroll and deploy devices, purchase and distribute apps and books in bulk, and conduct ongoing management. In addition, Apple Business Manager with an MDM solution gives admins the power to set restrictions and leverage built-in Apple device security to keep content and apps from being utilized in unmanaged destinations. Gone are the days of IT needing to be buried under a mountain of new hardware. By integrating Apple Business Manager and an MDM solution, IT can feel better about their workflows for keeping productivity high and get back to supporting their distributed workforce in other ways. Apple School Manager, or ASM, works in the same way as Apple Business Manager, but for education organizations by allowing school IT admins to automate and simplify device deployment and ongoing management for schools, which is more important now than ever before in the wake of distance learning to keep students, educators, and other school staff safe. Once you've integrated Apple Business or School Manager, you're probably wondering how the communication to end-user devices actually happens. Initial enrollment and ongoing management work through the constant connection to your devices via the Apple Push Notification Service, or APNS. Through APNS, commands, apps, and profiles are all sent from one central IT location via the MDM directly to the device, maintaining that zero-touch, hands-free experience that is crucial to supporting a remote workforce. Now that I have direct communication with each device, how can I set up each device the way I want for my employees? And yes, this webinar is about digital onboarding, but you might also want to know what kind of ongoing device management tasks you can accomplish with an MDM. An MDM solution like Jamf Pro can help you set the foundation you want for your devices and automate tasks such as setting configuration profiles, policies, scripts, and smart targeting of specific devices to manage. Configuration profiles will allow you to define settings with iOS and macOS configuration profiles, such as applying Wi-Fi settings, VPN, email settings, and more, which you can easily distribute to your devices, allowing users to easily connect to the resources they need. Policies assist with installing software needed on a Mac to manage local user accounts and conduct more advanced management workflows should that need arise. Scripts provide more flexibility than standard configuration profiles and give IT admins more device management capabilities, which is something everyone wants available as we support a distributed workforce. And then finally, smart targeting, which includes powerful technology like smart groups that can help manage environments without any interaction and gives IT admins the power to define specific groups of individuals and devices to collect inventory data from and to manage. Designating who gets what software and apps is also key to making your remote workforce more productive. With MDM and Apple Business or School Manager, you can purchase apps in bulk from the App Store and remotely distribute pre-configured apps to Mac, iPad, and iPhone so your users have just what they need when they need it. If you have the need to tailor the experience even more so for your users, you can do so with app configuration by deploying B2B apps or also the ability to build in-house custom apps or software. You'll also get alerts when new updates for apps are available and either set apps to update automatically or remotely update from a push of a button. To further differentiate and customize the zero-touch deployment process and ongoing lifecycle management for remote employees, organizations also need to implement modern authentication and security measures. As employees and their devices become increasingly mobile, security requirements are harder than ever to satisfy, so it's essential to have tools in place that ensure only the right people, devices, and networks are accessing sensitive corporate data. As I mentioned earlier, when you sign up and utilize Apple Business or School Manager, you can also leverage built-in native Apple device security. But there are additional measures that IT admins can take in order to accomplish security, such as requiring authentication from an authorized user, implementing zero trust access capabilities, and hardening protection of your Mac fleet. Authorized device setup requires authentication from your end user to authorize the setup of the device. Without this authorization, the device is effectively useless to anyone else and it won't be able to access your network or company resources. By requiring credentials for enrollment, you can give end users instructions to either enter their Active Directory or Cloud Identity Provider credentials in order to access the device and proceed with setup. This authorization method works anywhere in the world and does not require the device to be on the company network. When a cloud identity provider is paired with authentication and identity management tools, organizations can implement a never trust, always verify strategy, ensuring a high level of user trust by unifying identity across apps and devices through a seamless sign-on experience on the Mac. When utilizing a solution such as Jamf Connect, This approach to access, user, and device management empowers organizations with 3 unique benefits. 1, modern provisioning and authentication out of the box, providing secure access to business-critical apps. 2, identity management capabilities that provides IT admins with the ability to keep an eye on all company devices, wherever they are. And 3, synchronization of user identities and device credentials. With account provisioning and authentication, IT is empowered to secure the login process by enforcing multi-factor authentication on pre-configured devices for employees on day 1. This simple yet secure login experience allows users to gain secure access to the business-critical apps that they need to be productive each day based on a single set of credentials. When using Jamf Connect with a cloud identity provider such as Okta or Microsoft Azure AD, remote employees can enjoy this simple, secure onboarding experience on their Mac. Jamf Connect's identity management capabilities allows IT to maintain security and compliance standards across all devices by enforcing password policies via the cloud identity permissions, while also monitoring what devices are being accessed and by whom, adding extra layers of security, keeping remote employees and hardware protected. And then finally, Gartner reports that 40% of all help desk tickets are for password resets. Because Jamf Connect keeps a user's cloud identity in sync with their local Mac account at all times, IT has seen a dramatic reduction on those help desk tickets, saving them time and ensuring employees can stay productive. With employees using their computers remotely, there's a whole new risk of attacks against company assets, amplifying the need for purpose-built Mac security. Your security team is probably thinking about the best ways to secure your remote macOS endpoints, all without impacting the device experience or the privacy of the employee. If you're looking to implement a security strategy, Jamf can help. By leveraging native security tools, Jamf Protect prevents known malware and creates customized telemetry and detections that give enterprise security teams remote visibility into their Mac fleet, no matter where their devices are. If a potential threat is detected, Jamf can provide remote employees with training to avoid malicious attacks in the future, which will be hugely important with devices away from the office and from IT. With Jamf Protect and Jamf Pro, you have some of the best tools available to identify and remediate incidents on macOS without the devices ever touching the corporate network. Utilizing Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager and an MDM solution like Jamf means IT doesn't have to touch any devices, and employees don't have to step foot in an office to get their hardware. It's the easiest and most efficient way to create a better onboarding experience for everyone from anywhere. First days are inherently stressful for employees, whether they're in the office or they're remote, and you can alleviate their concerns by getting the tools they need and want into their hands on day 1 through zero-touch deployment. We've talked about how zero-touch deployment works and the tools that you'll need, not only to streamline deployment of devices to remote workers, but also how to tailor those devices for a seamless onboarding experience and a straight path to security and productivity. Now let's talk about how you can put those tools into action and achieve a zero-touch deployment strategy in your organization to support onboarding for a remote workforce. To institute a zero-touch deployment process, you'll need to prepare, purchase your devices, and then deploy them. So how can you best prepare for a zero-touch deployment process? The first thing you'll need to do is sign up for Apple Business or Apple School Manager, depending on if you're a commercial or an education organization. To sign up for Apple Business Manager, you can visit business.apple.com, and for Apple School Manager, visit school.apple.com. Once you've signed up and created your account, you'll need to link your Apple Business or School Manager account to your MDM server. From there, you'll be able to configure your settings and customize the enrollment process for your users. Here are some of the options that you'll have with Jamf Pro when configuring your enrollment settings, like making MDM mandatory and preventing the removal of it, requiring authentication to complete enrollment, or skipping different standard Apple setup steps, which perhaps aren't relevant to your users. You'll have several options that will help you tailor each device to your organization's needs. Next, let's take a look from the end user's point of view when setting up a new out-of-the-box device with enrollment customization. When new employees fire up their Mac, iPad, or iPhone for the first time, you can make that experience unique to your organization with enrollment customization. With enrollment customization, you have the option to choose settings that will make a user's enrollment screens easier to read and more engaging during that automated enrollment process with text that you can customize, customizable images, and more. It's a great way to welcome your new employees to your specific organization. As we discussed in the How Zero Touch Works section, you can also get any configuration profiles, policies, smart groups, or app setup so that each user has the correct settings and access to the right apps and resources for their role immediately once they log into their device for the first time. You'll also want to think about your security measures at this point so that devices and sensitive data are protected from the first time your new employee turns the device on. Earlier, we discussed a few ways to increase your security posture when onboarding new employees, such as requiring authentication from an authorized user, implementing a never trust, always verify strategy with a cloud identity provider, and strengthening protection of your Mac fleet with real-time incident alerts and security responses. Taking the time to think carefully about how to protect hardware and information is a necessity for all devices that are now in different parts of the country or the world, and attacking security head-on from day one with new employee machines can really alleviate some concerns down the road. The next step is purchasing Apple hardware through Apple directly or from an authorized Apple reseller, and then assigning those devices for enrollment. Only Apple makes Apple devices, and every one has a unique serial number. When Apple transfers new devices to a reseller for distribution, it keeps a record of the serial numbers that were sold to that reseller. In turn, when those devices are sold to you, that reseller keeps a record of the serial numbers as well and adds them to your Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager account. Because you've already linked your MDM server to your Apple Business or Apple School Manager account and configured your settings and custom enrollment steps, when the devices are added, they then adopt those settings and customizations that you've already set up through your MDM. And then finally, you're ready to deploy devices to your remote users. The steps in your preparation were to enable a seamless deployment process, so all you need to do is send that shrink-wrapped Apple device directly to your employee. Once they receive that new device, they can unwrap and unbox the device and turn it on, giving them that exact same experience as buying brand new Apple hardware, but with a personalized, secure device with all the resources that they need to be productive. That can be securely accessed with a single set of credentials. It's a great experience for the end user and a great experience for IT as well. Once the remote employee receives their new hardware, productivity is literally a few taps or clicks away. Employees can become instantly connected to their work resources, including mail, VPN, and productivity apps in the exact same manner as their on-site counterparts. More and more organizations are making a shift from on-premise Active Directory to cloud identity. When deploying new devices remotely, you can provision the account so that the user will have the business-critical apps that they need to be productive in their role and can be accessed with the user's cloud identity credentials. When paired with Jamf Connect, the user enters their cloud identity credentials once, complete with multi-factor authentication, and has access to all of the apps that they need without having to enter those credentials multiple times each time they want to access a new app. The user gets to enjoy a personalized device with a better end-user experience. Once the employee is online, in addition to automatically having access to certain apps upon setup, remote employees are able to quickly find and take advantage of their favorite apps and other critical resources thanks to self-service in Jamf Pro, which is a free curated app portal available to every end user within the organization. Between configuration profiles, app deployment, account provisioning via a cloud identity provider, and self-service, you've given your remote users everything that they need to be productive and to operate as self-sufficiently as possible without needing much help from IT to get up and running. Before we begin to wrap up our webinar today, I want to briefly cover offboarding and how Jamf can help in the event that you have a remote employee that leaves the organization. So here are a few best practices to prepare devices for use by another employee. The first thing that you'll want to do is to reclaim the device from the remote employee that's leaving the organization. Once you've received that device, Jamf Pro allows you to wipe and reset the hardware, so it's essentially a brand new device for use by the next employee. You'll also want to be sure that you remove that user and the hardware from management in Jamf Pro. Once the device is ready to be used by a new individual, you can follow the same steps as we've outlined in this webinar to assign, configure, and deploy the device to the new user. If you're also using a cloud identity provider, you can reprovision the device for the new user's cloud identity specs via Jamf Connect. Essentially, we want you to know that if you're in this situation, Jamf has you covered and makes it easy for you to properly set up hardware for new users, ensuring security of users, hardware, and company information. As we come to the end of our session today, I'd like to recap by saying once again that this remote worker trend will only continue. Jamf can help to empower a modern, mobile workforce and deliver the best and most secure employee experience. If you're interested in learning more, you can view the recording of our Supporting a Remote Workforce webinar. You can check out our ebook or our 3-part blog series that talks all about supporting a remote workforce. Lastly, Jamf provides mobile device management for the entire Apple ecosystem, from Mac, iPhone, iPad, and even Apple TV, along with solutions for giving your users secure access to their resources and amplifying Mac security to stop threats before they start. If you're interested in how Jamf can help support you with digital onboarding, please visit jamf.com. We're here for you. We understand that many of you are currently facing challenging situations, and we want to make our products and services more accessible to you in your time of need. If you'd like to learn more, please feel free to check out jamf.com/LP/remote-empowerment for more details.